We're here today to talk about fan engagement. With consumers increasingly accessing sports content in a plethora of different ways, whether that's consuming games through linear, catch-up services, bespoke OTT platforms, and a growing assortment of social media platforms. So the panel today will discuss how all this technology is improving the fan experience, and it will also explore how important non-revenue generating programs can be to increasing fan engagement. I am going to go to my panelists to introduce themselves, starting with Paul at Seenic.
So I'm the CEO of Seenic. We're a software service company. And people praise us for our Watch Together technology. What is Watch Together? It allows you to watch together with your friends, whether that's TV, OTT, cable or broadcast, but actually see them and hear them. We're primarily based in the UK, with now some operations in Germany and France, and starting in the Middle East. And you will see in the video what is Watch Together. So let's roll the video.
Yeah. Luke at DAZN.
It's me.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Luke Osborne. So I'm the VP of Insight and Analytics at DAZN. For those of you that don't know DAZN, we're a global sports streaming service. Effectively, what we do is help fans around the world view premium live sports content through a range of different platforms. We are currently present in 7 markets, from Japan to Germany and the US. We're about to launch in Spain. We just announced recently we're launching in Spain. My role at DAZN is really about, effectively, I'm responsible for our customer experience, our research and our analytics activities. What that really means is that basically I help us better understand our customers and our potential customers in order to help us effectively deliver a really personalized, relevant, engaging experience for them.
Great. Shall we show the DAZN clip?
Yeah, let's show the video.
Lovely. And Damien, finally.
So I'm Damien. I'm work at the Football Association, who govern and grow the game in this country. My role is to oversee the video team at the FA, with a focus on England teams, the Emirates FA Cup, and growing women's and girls football. And the clip that I'm about to show will kind of illustrate a lot of the work we did around the recent Men's World Cup.
Lovely. So I'm keen to get your thoughts as a panel on whether it's OTT platforms, sports apps, the increasing use of sports data, and social media platforms. What use cases have you seen in which tech has better enabled fan engagement?
Go on.
I mean, obviously the video there, Lion's Den, I wouldn't say lo-fi tech, but it was definitely lightweight tech that we used to kind of create that. That was actually based in the Team Hotel in Russia. It was a camera going into a laptop, going into a cloud-based platform, a crew of around 5 people across it for 31 days straight. And to the question of how did tech enhance that, I mean, without the kind of the thinking around how we didn't have a massive budget, we didn't have big hardware we could take everywhere. So the ability to utilize tech, even the FaceTime calls that we used to kind of bring the fans and players closer together. We utilized a gaming app called Discord, so we could talk to people across 3 different countries at the same time. So the technology really kind of made that show work.
Amazing.
From my end, I've got like 2 case studies of quote unquote fan engagement. One is in the stadium. Snaptivity has been doing some amazing things, I think, using AI-controlled cameras to take automatic pictures of fans and their most amazing moments in a stadium, right? Because whenever a fan takes out to take a selfie, it's a fake, fabricated moment. Whereas Snaptivity is capturing in stadium real emotions without you having to do anything as a fan. And they've seen that fans share the Snaptivity photos 3 times more than they share their selfies. So I think that's one of fan engagement in stadium. The second one, obviously with Seenic, we've been doing some work with BT Sport, tracking how friends are inviting each other, how many arrive in your room to watch together. And then also on esports, we've been working with We Love Gaming, which is an esports organization, for how fans can watch esports together. So we're essentially replacing the text chat on Twitch, which is public. And we've seen people normally watching in groups of sort of 4 to 5 people in esports, and they're spending up to 2 hours, whereas for them that's normal. So those are the 2 case studies of how we're using video conferencing tech to give fans this sort of watch together experience.
From our perspective, really, technology allows us to do everything that we do. Our whole proposition is powered by technology. And obviously, this is a technology forum, but I think it's really important, and it's been mentioned earlier today, but it's really important that we always think about this from the consumer's angle. We all think about kind of technology and industry terms, but at the end of the day, consumers want to access their favorite sports content in the kind of easiest, most convenient way. And I guess our fundamental belief is that actually, it's not right that sports fans have to pay 50, 60, 70 pounds a month to see their favorite teams or their favorite sports. That's something that's fundamentally wrong. And we believe that technology is helping us deliver a much more accessible, affordable, convenient proposition, which is what fans need. So, for instance, in Germany, for €9.99 a month, fans can see Champions League, Europa League, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, top quality boxing, international rugby, international football, NBA, MLB, you name it, all that for €9.99 a month. There's no installation fee. They're not tied into any sort of contract or any sort of bundle. And effectively, that is only possible because of technology. And I think if you look at other industries, if you look at music or you look at film, the likes of Spotify and Netflix have disrupted those industries for the benefit of consumers and fans. And really, sport is the next one that needs to be disrupted. So for us, really, technology is everything. But it's about actually delivering the right proposition for fans and for consumers.
Yeah, it's a nice broad spread, and interesting that you're all using tech in different ways and different ways to engage fans. I think it's probably quite obvious, but how important is data analytics to the efforts that you're doing to try and deliver that value, and how much does it inform how you shape your products? So
for us, we look at data in terms of friendship, okay? So we look at I might not want to watch a Colombia game because data says that I'm not Colombian during the World Cup. But actually, one of my best friends is Colombian, and after the England game, I went to watch the Colombia game. So in real world, our brains work on recommendations around friendships. Whereas for, I think, an AI algorithm or back data in a sports app, if I've never watched Colombia, they might never know to suggest that to me. So what we're looking at is how we use data around friendships. So if I'm watching with a friend that is, oh, he's watched a lot of those games, but I normally watch just England, or I normally just watch volleyball, then we're looking at data on the case of the friendship and how we can bring that to make better recommendations. Something that a machine learning maybe wouldn't be able to learn on its own. So that's the way we utilize data. In our backend, we track who you've invited, what country they're from, if they've got the privacy settings, what do they like to watch? Do we often watch together? So that's the way we're trying to, I think we're at the beginning of this friendship data usage to then power the recommendation for me.
From our perspective, really, data and analytics powers everything that we do. We're in quite a fortunate position in that if you compare us to the traditional linear broadcasters, we can actually understand exactly what every single one of our viewers is watching, when they're watching it, on what device they're watching it, what they start watching and stop watching, even what format they like watching it. So we've got a really, really rich understanding of our customers. I think, this year, the number before there was out of date on the video. I think we've had about 200 million hours of sports streaming on our service consumed. So with that comes vast, vast amounts of data. But what's really key with that data is to actually try and make the experience better for our customers. Because we do have, we've shown 20,000 live events on our platform, which is a lot. It's a huge amount of choice. And what we need to do with that data and our analytics is help our users navigate our service, help them actually find the content which is most relevant, most engaging for them. And there's kind of two different ways that you can do that from a personalization perspective. There's one is an implicit personalization. It's effectively looking at what has an individual user viewed in the past, what type of sports, what type of teams, even what type of kind of device, and therefore surface that to them, make it available to them, recommend certain things to them. That's one element. And the other element is actually giving consumers, our users, the power to actually choose what content they watch. So whether that's by setting favorites, setting alerts, setting up notifications, that type of thing really allows people to actually, for us to surface that content for them in both ways, when it's most relevant and when they might not be aware of a certain game that appeals to them. So it's really, 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 really key that we do it, but for the benefit of the consumer.
Yeah, I think it's twofold for us. If there's a matter of collecting data for people who actually play the game, enabling them to run their clubs, and also getting a wider idea of who they are and what to suggest to them, knowing if they've got a daughter and they might be potentially interested in girls or women's football, and creating a kind of holistic view of that person. But at the same point, the responsibility that comes with that and not pushing what they don't want towards them. From a content perspective, we look at data across engagement, and I think it also depends what your objectives are. We weren't after a big viewing number with the shows we were making, the content we were making. We were after engagement. We would much rather have a smaller viewership number, and what the live show did was, whilst it didn't have massive viewing figures, it did have extremely high engagement, extremely high watch time. 80% of the comments we had across the whole World Cup were across those 31 shows we did. 80% of our audience was UK based because we're talking to the people predominantly in the UK. So obviously data powers, what these guys said, powers everything we do, but I think it's using it in the right way and knowing how you're going to use it, because I think we all know that data can be kind of used however you want to, and the responsibility that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, the next challenge for us is, Jamie talks a lot about the community around sport and bringing audiences to the heart of sport. How can we take then, watch together to suggest that I can watch with someone that is like me, but is not my friend yet or is not my family? So almost taking watch together to, similar fans. I think that's a challenge for us to connect you to not only your 2 or 3 or 4 friends that you know like this, but then connect you to people like you that might want to watch together, whether that's in an open space or a closed space. So we see that as a huge challenge, but that's one we want to see how we can do, because in the real world, you know, you invite a friend over to your house and sometimes you'll say, is it all right if I bring another friend? So that's like a third connection in the tech world. How do we bring that through data into a digital world? That's a big challenge for us, but that's one we're interested in to see, to make friendships.
Yeah. Just to remind everyone to please do use Slido. We are getting a couple questions and they're great, and I will ask one of them in a minute. Firstly, it sounds like you're all using data to like personalize the experience more. Do you have to weigh up, you know, giving fans too much of a personalized experience and not allowing serendipity of exploring things they might not normally explore, and just serving them with things you know they're going to watch? Yeah. Is that something is that a balance you think about?
No, absolutely. I think that's a really good point. It's important that you don't, you know, at the end of the day, we believe, you know, if we're all of us offering a breadth of content, we believe that there's value in people consuming or trying that different type of content. And the risk with personalization is that you kind of send people down this narrow path around, you know, I know someone's watched Real Madrid's last 3 games, so I'm only going to show them, you know, a Real Madrid game, when in fact, actually, there might be other sports that they like. And I think it is real a balance. But what I would say is really important when you do that is that you use data to learn. So if, for instance, I recommend this Real Madrid fan, I don't know, watches a boxing fight or something like that, if they actually respond to that positively and decide to watch it, then that suggests the next time around, hey, let me broaden it out. But actually, if instead they decline it, you need to kind of learn from that. And ideally, over time, you kind of fine-tune that proposition. But you're right, it's really important that you don't narrow it down too much.
With us, some of the trials we've run is we saw that 2 people that were friends on the platform just happened to be separately watching the same thing, but not invite each other to watch together. And so we came up from user feedback. We came back with a feature called Merge. They said, if in our privacy settings we've allowed my group of friends to merge when we're separately watching the same thing, between certain hours of the day, let us merge, maybe not at 2 in the morning if we happen to be watching the same thing. So that's not really using data, it's just preferences, and it's our learnings from, you know, again, going back to the old days when you'd pick up the phone and either call a friend and say, turn on the channel, or he'll be, yeah, I'm watching the same thing. So we're learning a little bit about this, you know, personalizing the experience, and I think Merge is a sort of next feature people are asking for, just to make it easy to meet up in this digital world.
For me, it was key to have a 2-way dialogue with your audience. You know, there's so much you can get from kind of setting preferences and kind of setting a structure, but actually talk to them. With the stuff we've done, we pay enormous attention to the comments and feedback we get. I'm not saying we change everything if we get one, you know, a negative comment or someone says something, but you have to kind of talk and as well ask what kind of things do you want to see or what kind of content is working. So I think that kind of 2-way process is important.
Did you ever get anyone, you know, on FaceTime do something that you were not expecting and you had to cut live, or was it delayed? Sorry to jump in. Yeah.
No, we had technical issues. When as much as you'll tell someone, make sure you're on good Wi-Fi and can you sit still, please? They will go in their car, or they will go somewhere else. And I had a daily heart attack every time we kind of built up to it. Also, there was a GDPR issue, making sure the person's number didn't come up or we didn't reveal anything about the person. So we had some definite challenges. Even though you see the kind of the clip of the young guy, who's actually a YouTuber, who got given some tickets to the Belgium game. It was the only game he couldn't go and see. We actually, when we did that the first time, the picture cut out. We only had audio. So we had kind of challenges around. No one did anything kind of, or said anything that they shouldn't do. Yeah. Like I say, we did have one person where we were kind of about to cut up and they went in their car and they were like, oh, I'm just going to drive. And we were like, no, don't. and kind of had to send them back into their
Till
house.
5G.
Yeah, but nobody did anything. I think we kind of, there was a good atmosphere around the England team in general at that point, and we very much spoke to people we knew and trusted would behave appropriately. It was more the kind of, we were pushing things technically, and like I say, occasionally when you're live, you have to kind of just run with it. But to that point, our audience kind of ran with it as well, and when things cut out, they kind of went, they accepted what we were doing, because there was kind of raw, authentic feel to it as well.
I've got a question here from the audience. It's, could using data to allow fans to compete against their idols be the ultimate engagement? Tools like Zwift aren't far away from live. Zwift? Do we know Zwift?
I don't personally. No. I mean, I think data should allow us to engage. I mean, I'm not sure what we mean by compete. I'm not sure whether data will allow you to get on a field and compete against a professional footballer, but maybe more from a kind of e-gaming perspective or something. Totally, exactly. And I think, certainly, e-gaming is definitely, and e-sports is definitely something that we're looking at really seriously, because there is very high engagement, and I think it does allow, as you mentioned, allow people to connect with others. So yeah, I think there is a big opportunity there.
I think you see the kind of connection as well with YouTube teams like #United and the the kind of popularity around presenters on kind of social platforms is that they are getting closer and closer together. And whilst it won't, the level of athleticism and expertise may not be the same, the personality will kind of match up for it. I think you can see a number of people like Manchester City do a lot with YouTubers and their younger players. So I think you can see that that's definitely something that will bring things closer together.
Mm. I'm keen to get your view on whether fan engagement products are always done to generate revenue, or whether they're more about brand perception or brand marketing or whatever it could be.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions Den revenue was not a target for us.
No.
We were keen.
Did you think about getting a sponsor or anything like that?
Yeah, we considered it when we said that's not what we wanted to go with it. It was an authentic piece, and we felt that having someone badge it up or have to kind of put it in that way would have didn't think it would be right. We wanted it to be. It was definitely a brand piece, and it was definitely just a complete engagement piece. Revenue was not part of the conversation. It was about putting our team. We had I think there wasn't a great feeling. Everyone kind of forgets that pre-World Cup there perhaps wasn't the positivity around the England team. So our thing was really to open the players up, put them in a place where they were comfortable and they came across well, and engage with fans as naturally as we could.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I totally think there's a role for that. I mean, I guess for us it's really about actually focusing on delivering that content, that premium content to fans. A good example from our world is so we've signed a deal with Canelo Alvarez, who last time around I think grossed about 1 million pay-per-view audience at about $85 a pop, which is quite a lot for a fight. I think anyone will admit, and we're showing that for free. So our next fight, people can go on, watch it for free, and watch 30 days, cancel, won't spend a penny. Because we feel that actually it's the right thing to do, and it's the right way to bring our proposition to fans. But I think the really important thing is when you do offer something for free, I think it does need to link to a kind of sustainable offering. I absolutely, I really enjoyed watching the Lions Den actually during the World Cup. It probably wouldn't have been so good if England had got knocked out in the first round, to be perfectly honest. And so it's really key that actually that comes with something which people can kind of, get beyond that sort of specific engagement piece. And yeah, that's why that I think is key.
For us is yes and no. Let me explain. We're working with one cable operator incorporating our Watch Together technology, and they're not going to charge users extra to have the Watch Together feature, right? Just like they don't charge extra for VOD or or for DVR. So from that case, they're not looking at it as a direct revenue generator. But when you speak to the marketing team, they're a lot more sensitive to acquisition rather than retention for Watch Together. So the conversations we have internally with the marketing teams is how does a friend inviting a friend bring in a new acquisition, pretty much at zero CAC. But everyone is also about the brand, the end platforms that we work with. They're about, we just want to be different, but it's again what the users want. So it's a yes from the marketing team, they got it. But when you talk to the product team, it's about audience engagement and retention.
Well, I think that the advocacy point there that you made, the kind of get user element, is really, really important in all this. If you look at all the stats, typically sort of like 20% of people believe advertising literacy, but sort of 70 or 80% of people believe what friends recommend to them, and it kind of makes sense, right? And I think it's really about how you, give people experiences and content which is meaningful, but also give them the opportunity to share it with other people. And I think if you do that right, you can actually, keep the marketing team and the CFO happy because you're growing it, but also kind of build a loyal customer base. I think you can achieve both.
Yeah, and we've seen on Twitter, more and more often people are posting photos of them FaceTiming their friends to watch, so I go on Twitter every day and just put something like FaceTime Watch Together or FaceTime Bodyguard. And it was amazing. People just tweeting things like, sharing a glass of wine over FaceTime for the Bodyguard finale with Zoe. Right? And they're just taking screenshots of themselves and posting that on Twitter. And this is, it's gone from, we started like 5 years ago working on Watch Together, where there were no tweets about that, to now you're getting like 400 or 500 tweets, just people and they're doing FaceTime, they're Skyping, doing the workarounds to try and recreate how the couch used to be. When you used to sit with your friends and scream together.
Yeah.
So we're not like, we don't do this to drive revenue. Our first goal is just let's bring people together. But obviously, there's other goals further down the road.
We did a piece of work recently where we got everyone in a room and asked them to reach revenue or engagement, pick one. And pretty much everyone went for engagement, because they said the other two will follow, or the other two are kind of secondary.
Sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of was always key. I think revenue is always going to, ultimately things have to generate income, but I think it's just not being the first thing that kind of you're prioritising over engagement.
I mean, Paul, with DAZN it's a subscription model, so I guess you generate revenue there. Paul, is Seenic is it a paid for platform or how?
No, so we sell our technology, so we're a partner vendor.
Okay.
So we've been trialing with BT Sport. So we're not a second screen app. We're not another app. We're basically a technology provider of quote unquote video conferencing to watch together. So we sell it as a service. Could be DAZN, BT Sport, Bodyguard on BBC iPlayer. That's our revenue. That's our revenue model as a B2B business.
Okay. Maybe we've started a beautiful partnership here. I'm keen to talk about. I mean, Paul, you've talked about this quite a lot, but with fans increasingly engaging with sport on digital, how do you capture that social element of being together on a sofa or being in a pub that used to happen more often? Are there plans like with DAZN or with the FA to like integrate that a bit more? I mean, obviously with Lions Den it was quite integrated, but are you thinking about whether you can have like live comment feeds, or are there anything in your thinking in that regard?
From our perspective, obviously, the distribution of our content is key, and that's why it's, first of all, we want to make sure that people can view it across as many types of devices as possible, and in fact, we actively encourage people to view it on living room devices because there is that social component. I've spent the last 2 weeks in a number of focus groups in a number of markets, and there is no denying the emotional, social component of sport. It's not the same as watching a film, in all honesty. You want to share the emotion of winning or losing with other people. And so for us, it's really important that you can have that great experience, in the living room, or even places like Germany. Actually, we do show DAZN in commercial premises. So that's key. That's more the sort of traditional format, but I think there's definitely a role for looking at how we can allow technology to connect people, whether that's by them actually directly speaking to people, whether that's them, kind of gamifying the platform and saying, well, actually, is it something around who can kind of predict the next scorer or that type of thing with other users? I think that's great because that drives engagement, which is really what is the sustainable kind of route to a solid business. But I think, yeah, it is probably, I'd say, the biggest challenge for, I think, digital platforms streaming this content is how we can make sure that we don't lose that social component, because it's absolutely key in sport.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stop people getting together or getting on the train and traveling 200 miles to go and, go down the pub together or go to the stadium or get your mates around the couch. I definitely don't want to replace that. And, the first couple of years we were working on this, it's very difficult. You can't replace spilling beers on your mates on the couch and really screaming and losing your voice. Just as in the work world, you can't replace the real meeting around the boardroom and you're all drawing together and feeding off each other's energy with a Skype call. You can get close. So for us it's a journey. I think we're at the beginning of it. Now Facebook a couple months ago announced Watch Party, which is basically when you watch Facebook Live, you don't see comments from people you don't know. You just have a private viewing with a text chat, right? It's taking that step. And I think they're about to announce with video chat. And so to your question, I don't think humans will ever replace, now there will be haptic, clothes wear and all that. We'll never replace that. Just getting together and feeling that sweat and that passion and everything. We can get close when we just can't be together. I mean, I can't fly over somewhere to go and just see a game with a friend, and we all live separately now after university. So I think what you were doing with the calls coming in, that's fan, that's fan presenter engagement. We're fan to fan engagement. So we're just at the start of it, but I don't think we'll ever, we'll have like, you put on a headset and, you have a virtual beer spill on you. Maybe, who knows, in 20, 30 years time, but it's just the beginning. But it's very hard to replace what we as humans have been doing for 60, 70 years to replace in the digital world. But we're seeing it, people already doing it with FaceTime, so we're just trying to bring it into a one experience. Having a go at that. I
mean, from your perspective, there's probably a really big angle around how technology helps people, grow the love for the sport and then drive participation and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think there's also a pre-event, during event, and post-event kind of. I think with all technical innovation, I don't think it's an or, it's an and. Yeah. It's a development of where it's going next. I mean, a slightly different example, but I watched the England-Tunisia game where we scored a last-minute goal in the pub with 4 of my friends, and the first thing I did was FaceTime one of the producers on the show. Neither of us could understand what each other was saying. We were just shouting at each other, but to actually have that was a world away from just having a phone call or sending him a text message. So it's definitely something to kind of develop and bring further, but it won't replace traditional viewing of, like say, being able to go and kind of enjoy it person to person. But yeah, definitely something to look to is to kind of develop that viewing experience and how you can. If you cannot be in the same room, how do you bring people together, or how do you bring people together who've got a common interest around the sport? And
I spent many years at MTV, and presenters used to read tweets from the fans, right? Now they just do a live video call. It's an evolution of what new technologies are allowing us to do. And when Twitter came out and started working with the broadcasters, and someone from the production team would bring the presenter and they would read out, Jason 351 says, lovely goal. And now it's gone on to, and BT Sport did the same. And so that's amazing for a fan. I'm a fan. I play and watch volleyball. To have that, to talk to the person, that's great fan engagement.
And what we saw during the World Cup as well was the clips of, like you say, people pouring beer on each other. And we actually could share that with the players. Because they're in Russia, they're preparing, we could actually get an engagement too where they saw the result of scoring a winning penalty or how fans were feeling and kind of bring them together on that level as well.
Yeah. Amazing. I've got a question, and someone else has got the same question, and they've targeted to Damien. And it's about latency and whether that's an issue, how you deal with that when viewers are watching games on various different 4G, 3G networks.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that you want to get something as quickly and as to high quality as possible. I think it depends what that live product is. So for something like for match footage, you need to be able to see it as quickly as you can. Otherwise, you might be, if you're 10 seconds behind. Sometimes I tend to follow matches sometimes even on Twitter rather than watching it live, because I know that might be where it comes first due to latency or delay. For kind of more raw products, I think people will work with you a little bit because they understand the authenticity and that that's almost part of it, that it's not too polished. And when it comes to match footage or live rights, you need to get it as strong, robust and quickly as possible, because at the moment people go on to find dodgy live streams when they have no other option. And they're happy to do that, but if you can give them a better product and you can give them something sustainable and strong, then I'm pretty sure they'd take that over the other one.
Well, my question is, and we all experienced it during the World Cup, the latency issues that were quite a challenge. If it's not the World Cup or if it's not a huge event, will people care as much? And
I think we've seen that during the World Cup, so many people were complaining on Twitter why your neighbors down the road or the pub down the road is shouting 2, 3, 5 seconds before you. 10 seconds, 30 seconds is annoying. I had text messages come in before I saw something on a stream on a smart TV. So for the industry, I think it has to be solved to bring live streaming latency to sort of broadcast latency. Because otherwise, someone and for Watch Together, we face this issue when someone's watching on an iPhone chops up the stream differently to Android because of the stream protocol. So iPhones are about 30 seconds behind, broadcast. Androids are about 15. Whether you're on Wi-Fi or 4G, it's just a little bit of difference. We figured out a way to bring everyone, if the Android is here and the iPhone is here, to bring everyone in the watch party to pretty much the same thing. But yeah, it would be, I think the industry, and now users are complaining about it, World Cup being a perfect example. I think streaming technology providers are already figuring out, and it needs to be figured out.
I'm glad you guys answered the latency question rather than me. Just joking. No, I mean, I think it is a big challenge for the industry. I mean, I think everyone knows that streaming live sport is so much more complicated. What we're trying to do technically is a lot more complicated than what Netflix do. The reality of it is that, a minute latency can mean everything. Hearing, as you said, your neighbour screaming out the window something they've scored is not the best experience. So we're tirelessly focusing on that, and I think that's what I would say. We're building a bunch of product attributes, some cool functionality, but our vast focus is on actually solving the basics. Just making sure that people can view their favorite sport in a kind of low latency, high quality stream. That's really the key. We've made huge progress in this space. Obviously, it's not all down to the actual platforms. The reality of it, if someone's got a really rubbish internet feed, pretty difficult to get around that when you stream sports through the internet, but it's something as an industry that we're working on, and things like 5G and whatnot are going to help. But yeah, it's something that I think we will never stop working on, never.
And sports betting needs zero latency live streams, to make those last second bets, or so that's another one that sport betting, which is fan engagement on betting, needs. Us close to 1 second latency on live streaming.
Yeah. We've got a couple of questions coming in. The main one, as in the one that's got the most upticks, is when will DAZN launch in the UK?
Thought that might come. So we're about to launch in Spain, and we've got a number of other markets that we're working on. I can't really comment on any specific markets, but we're aiming for global domination. So kind of read into that what you want.
Do you have like a hopefully by the end of 2019, or you can't possibly?
My PR colleague who's here would probably come and pull me off the stage if I started quoting new dates. No. Okay. But we are looking to expand globally as fast as possible.
Okay. Great. What I'm keen to find out is also how given you've got such different platforms, how do you measure success? Is Is it that engagement that we've been talking about in terms of how often people are coming back? Is it like social engagement, whether that's likes, shares, comments? What is the measure of success for you?
I mean, from my perspective, I think there's a number of measures of success. It could be subscriptions, could be number of users, but I think engagement is by far the most actionable and the most kind of sustainable solution. At the end of the day, if people are not actually engaging with your content, viewing it, enjoying it, then there's not actually that much kind of legs in it in reality. So I think engagement is key. Now, engagement can mean different things, right? It can mean actually how often are people coming to browse your content. It could mean actually how many hours are people viewing. So there's different angles to engagement, but I think for me, if I had to pick one, it would be that one, because everything else, the revenue, the subscribers, the reduction in churn, everything like that comes off the back of it in reality.
So do you look at it in the round rather than looking at one particular metric? It would be
yeah. We've got a real broad range of metrics, and engagement is something which probably means different things to different people, but yeah.
Engagement and sentiment as well, which is obviously ridiculously tricky to kind of get a handle on. I mean, I'm not saying there's a distinct direct correlation between the noise that I heard at Wembley when we beat Croatia on the weekend and us, what we've done kind of online and with video, but I think as a part of it, and the sentiment of fans enjoying watching England, people writing, the journalists, writing positive things around the team, and is all kind of part of the same machine. So what it's engagement, and it's actually people thinking differently around what we're doing.
Our measure of success, and I probably spend too much time in our dashboard that I should, is actually not with the actual video call itself. A lot of the users tell us, just make it really easy for me to find my friends. So I often look at stats where a user has sent like 5 invitations. We see that, but like only one person has arrived, or has arrived after the owner of the room has left the room, right? So our like measure of success is, yes, we have this target that we always want at least 2 people watching together, right? No restaurant empty kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, I think it's mostly how you schedule these things, and that's how we're measuring success and really working hard on that. It's not our core technology, but it's obviously to get to watching together. It's like, if you think about how we schedule a Skype call, there's emails, there's finding a time, then getting it into everyone's calendar, and then still some people arrive late. So we're just trying to, our measure of success right now is just how easy it is for a person to set up a co-viewing session and actually join together, whether that's through Merge or so we're seeing it, sending out 4 or 5 invites, but only one friend.
Great. I'm really sorry, but we have run out of time. I'm sure everyone has lots more questions, but hopefully you can grab the panelists. If you can all join me in thanking everyone.